Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our School for Seasonal Living with the Hestia community in collaboration with Taoology with Paul Wang. And we are here in Mystic Valley, Santa Barbara. Paul, can you tell us where we are? Every time we're kind of in a new and unique place to honor the different seasons.
Well, it's mystic, so I can't give you the address or the full details. But if you connect to us more, right, and we're more familiar, then it's kind of this is a very special area in Santa Barbara area near the coast, and we've kind of been doing these by invitation weekend Tao reunions, and Tao is sort of our path of cultivation, and so we're in this very special place with one of my students who hosts us here. He's a surfer, as you can see.
And a lover of Chinese healing modalities.
Yeah. So we've been here this weekend practicing, and we decided to do another shorter episode for this summer season.
Yes. So I'm sure you're all noticing that, wow, the days are getting longer. 5 in the morning, it's already bright outside. And, when you're listening to this video, it's going to be around the summer solstice time, which is June 21st in this hemisphere. And so, Paul, I would love for you to talk about just how do we handle this peak yang time? What is going on in nature around this peak of summer, or the beginning of summer time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've been talking about this sort of year-long clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the previous episodes we talked about these kind of special nodes. There's actually 24 in the classical Chinese lunar solar agricultural system that guided us, kind of like our intention, guiding our lifestyle, activity, what to do and what not to do. And so if you think about that clock again, right, we have four important cardinal points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a clock. It's actually also a compass too. So those points also correlate to directions. Right? And so we definitely passed the spring equinox, which we actually did at Hestia.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do another sabbatical in Fall Equinox in September. So you guys are invited. And so if we say that the spring equinox was 0 degrees, sort of like 12 o'clock, then summer solstice is 90 degrees. Yeah, if we just map it like that, yeah. And so we talked about spring as kind of the sprout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things kind of initiating, making those breakthroughs from the the death of winter, and then so we also use the metaphor of the sprout, and the winter is the seed, right? Seed, sprout, and then here, by the time you guys are watching this video, it's the fire element, fire phase, in terms of the five phase energetic of Chinese medicine, Chinese philosophy, Chinese cosmology, right? Fire means so many different things. For instance, in the organ in Chinese medicine means the heart, right? And so that's actually a good thing, actually, to tie in. So, and then back to the sort of cultivation metaphor of a seed sprout, then the fire season is sort of the blossoming, the budding to the blossoming of the flower.
So what does that really mean? In these videos, the intention is really to help you kind of learn to flow with the cycles of nature so that you can navigate change and transition with just a lot more ease and grace. And so for those of us that are thinking about our intention and how it's kind of been moving from the winter season to the spring, where we're kind of feeding that intention, clearing away things that don't serve us. That was a focus for that from that last video. Now, how do we really cultivate the blooming?
Yeah, blooming, right? That's a word you guys use a lot with your podcast, Gratitude Blooming, which you guys should check out. I have an episode with you guys on there. So blooming, and so let's so keep in mind that kind of flower kind of analogy, right? The bud and then starting to open, and then as during that process, actually some of the petals are falling off. So maybe sometimes you got to prune or pluck those too. So the idea, if we go to the fire, right, metaphor, is that we've done some grilling here. So if you got some broccolini on the grill, you definitely need some fire. Otherwise, it's not going to.
It's gonna be a salad.
Yeah, exactly. kind of tough, right? So if you want to digest, right, adding that, and into it, digest the material better, then you need to tune the fire of the cooking, right? So that's your life too, right? If you have a relationship or project, you don't want to push too hard too fast, right? Then it's like overcooking.
Then you lose your momentum, right?
Yeah, you burn, right? Not maybe the project burns up, but also you burn up, right? So to kind of create more sustainable win-win situation, right? To make that flower blossom, because we know eventually we're going to head to the fall, right? So everything that kind of comes into existence, sprouts, flowers, will eventually go to the descent. We'll talk about that when the time comes, but so let's keep this cooking metaphor with fire, right? You don't want it too low, right? If it's too low, we need to be able to dial it up, right? Too low, too slow, right? And if you're cooking a steak, right? If it's like 80 degrees, like it's gonna take too long, and it's not gonna be optimal. It might dry out by the time, right? Sorry to you vegetarians, but I used a vegetable and
very inclusive.
Yeah, very inclusive. Nor do you want to like have it blasting at like 400 degrees, right? Then you gain speed, right? But then it's overcooked. So same thing for our own energy, right? So now the fire of our emotions, right? The fire of our metabolism, and in terms of metabolism and physiology, everyone knows this one word: inflame, right? Inflammation, right? That's kind of, everyone talks about that. I'm inflamed now, right? And so
that's too much fire.
Too much, yeah. And we can map that. Usually we talk about that in terms of like arthritis, right? Or gastritis, right? Tendinitis. So itis in Latin it refers to inflammation, right? Over, yeah. So arth is bone, right? Tendon is the connective tissue. Gastric is so that inflammation can be physical. However, the way I understand and teach and transmit is I like to map on these memes, so to speak, the itis meme, into also emotional and mental states, right? So you can have mentitis. I just made up that word.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, or with the emotions
so
too.
Overthinking, overdoing, is kind of
and then the idea of burning out then. Right? Nothing wrong with thoughts, right? But can we dial it back if needed? Right?
So how do we pace ourselves? It's like, do you have a way in which you kind of tune into that? Okay, if you have an intention or a project that you want to see kind of cultivated further, how do you gauge, okay, my energy, my resources, what is too much, what's too little of that thing? Like, is there a way that you help to manage that for yourself or with the patients that you work with who oftentimes have burnout?
So those, if you watch, especially if you come to my classes, like I draw from a lot, right? And so in this moment, right, what's coming to me, I want to keep it very practical and embodied.
Yes.
So we've also, it's on my mind because it's come through in our classes. Well, here this weekend is the heart again, and I already talked about it. So one idea is kind of a yogic kind of thing, whether you believe it or not, but you can think it's it's a bit more mechanical idea. Like the heart, just like your car, right, can only drive so many miles, right? The engine can only pump so many times before it breaks down. Whether that's 250,000 miles or 50,000, right? It kind of depends on how you take care of your car, right? If you're in Europe, okay, 500,000 kilometers or whatever. Yeah. So let's kind of focus on our hearts then, right? So that's one thing. Okay, that's one hypothesis, right? And again, that mileage maybe depends on how hard you push. Right? If you're more gentle and long-term thinking, not like I just got to get it done now, by age 25, I got to do this, by age 30, right? And then plan out your life, these kind of nanometers. It's very, very stressful, right? And so leaving room for flow or spontaneity is very important, right? That's already a practice right there, right? Don't over-plan things, right? Whether you're on vacation or staycation, right? Leave room for happy accidents. Actually,
synchronicity,
serendipity, synergy, symphonies, right? So that's already one thing. I mean, we don't have to practice that here, but that's
like leave room for your weekend to just not have a plan and see what happens.
Right? Yeah, a general maybe direction, but leave room for the lateral, not so kind of linear in the front back direction. Yeah, open your panoramic.
Expansive.
Yeah, and actually in physiology, like when you're hunting, right? We kind of narrow and focus, right? So you're in a very kind of fight or flight, in this case, hunting, right? Hunting. And so that's very draining metabolically, to be in that kind of, which we are, most of us. if we're
on the computer, on
like
the
right.
phone.
Yeah. So if you notice me kind of looking around, so when you can expand your vision, right? Because your eyes are part of your nervous system, right? So when you can just sit, yeah, not rushing, and just like place it like this. I mean, you can't see on the camera, but we're in this amazing valley, Mystic Valley. So sometimes just sit, have a focal point. Right? This is also good for martial arts and for driving. Have a focal point, but don't just have tunnel vision, right? Have that tunnel, that laser, but also expand to a field of awareness around. So sometimes I use, since I mentioned the terminology, so awareness, right? You have some idea what that is. You're using your awareness to watch this. But even in this moment, right? Have a focal point. Maybe you're looking at me or looking at Belinda, right? So visually, you're watching the screen, right? With your focal, let's say, point of intention, right? Awareness can be funneled, narrowed into a point of intention. And, okay? And is a conjunction, not or, okay? And you can also simultaneously maintain a field of attention, right? Even though it's kind of like a bullseye, right? Keep your eye on the bullseye, but don't blind yourself to the beauty, the range around you, right? So sometimes I'm just sitting somewhere, or even walking. You can do it while you're walking too. Don't just be like, right? Gotta get there. That goal orient. Goal is great, and I love not either or. I love both and. So see your goal, right? Whether I want to go to that cathedral or I got to get to this meeting, and also train yourself to simultaneously maintain a field of attention, not just that point of focus, and then sometimes also even just let go of that point of focus. Just focus on your panoramic vision, right? So, and this is great. Eye training and vision is so closely tied to psychology too. Like I said, like I gotta, versus just expand, right? Can you see, let's say 90 degrees, right, to either side? Let's say 45 degrees to either side. Some people may already find that challenging, right? Look forward, but can you see the peripheral vision, right? Can you see 60 degrees? Can you see 90 degrees? So you kind of have a 180-degree field of vision, right? I think most people, if you don't have eye issues, like you can actually, while you're looking forward, see 90 degrees on either side.
So practicing your peripheral vision a little bit more.
Peripheral. And then also in terms of this linear front back is not so close, right? Because when you see close, your eyeball has to scrunch in order. Yeah, there's like
tighten.
Yeah, like imagine a band above, below, and on either side. It has to pull in, right? So it's like this. Your eye muscles are doing this. So when you look far, guess what happens, right?
Relaxes.
Then yeah, you extend. So practice looking far, simultaneously to wide, until you see Sagittarius A star, the black hole in the center of our Milky Way galaxy, right? Yeah. Wow. So it's like you're zoning out, but what it does to your nervous system is like relax, because we go into fight or flight, and like I talk about a predator looking, but when you're the prey to it, you're like, oh, where is it? Yeah. So you're also kind of like looking for trouble, right? So this state, it's kind of vulnerable actually. So do it in a safe place. You don't have to do it like in a Times Square.
Ideally in nature.
In nature.
To expand, yes.
Yeah. So just train your vision. It's so good for, actually this is more wood, liver, eye, but the eyes are, but it's also applicable in terms of talking about dialing down your metabolism and your sort of burnout kind of state. And then back to the heart. So that's kind of, it's related. Actually, if you do that, do that practice and notice.
How does your heart feel?
Yeah, most of the time. And then some of you guys, you use those, those whatever, Fitbit kind of things. They're not a sponsor, but those kind of, hey. But I don't recommend that. I'm an acupuncturist, so if I see patients with their watch, their digital watch, and I say, please take it off, because there's very important points here, right? Some of like, if you have morning sickness, or if you're a nurse or been pregnant, there's a point here that you press. They sell those bands, right? This point connects to like the heart area. Yeah. It also connects down to the uterus area. So you're zapping it, right? So not a good idea. I have a wind-up watch.
I have no watch. I don't work on linear time.
Yeah, so I'm not. So I'm not saying I'm not anti-tech, but just be aware how you use tech, and then versus how you're hijacked or being used by it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't take it for granted. Think it through. Is this good for me, right? Is this weigh out the pros and cons. So
Yeah, what is a good
yeah,
like simple practice for us to work with the heart? Because I love how the
yeah,
theme of this season is really around gentle, soft expansion.
hmm
And that's kind of how we can balance the burnout,
yeah,
that we can overexert, right? Longer days, do more things, more light, more, more
harder,
movement.
faster, longer. Yeah,
Yeah. So is there a simple practice that people could do more regularly to connect
yeah.
with their heart during this fire
Yeah, so
time?
so the simplest is, here's again a suggestion or a hypothesis. Uh, Train yourself, learn to be able to feel your heart, and
Mm.
I don't just mean that metaphysically, but literally in your
Hmm.
chest, right? And you may want to start off with like feeling your pulse and your neck. Oh my gosh, this amazing
Mm.
intelligence is sending this wave reverberating through 100,000 kilometers of my blood vessels. Wow, all that is happening, right? Amazing. I'm a miracle, right? Or at your wrist, right? So that's one way, like more externally connect to the information, the communication of the heart is happening all the time, right? Tens of thousands of times a day.
Mm.
So then, of course, you can also put your hand on your chest, right? You
Mm.
know, so you can do this even laying down,
Mm-hmm.
or even walking. Sometimes when you're walking, you can feel it pounding a bit more, right? So,
Mm.
so develop. However, so those are some recommendations via the pulse peripherally or centrally. Later on, you don't need to use your hands. Later on, you can feel. Like for
Just
me,
sense it.
yeah, I can. Maybe in the beginning, you need to do it in a very quiet place, right? And then maybe first with your hands, maybe one hand on the heart, one hand on the pulse, and the neck. Okay, and you have to be quiet, right? And you have to be focused inwards, and that's already a practice. That's called interoception, right? Usually we're so focused on the external, the exteroception, that we lose
Mm.
ourselves, right? So we're using our heart, this amazing organ, right, as an internal odometer or speedometer. Sometimes I use that metaphor, right? When you're driving, how fast am I going? Oh my God, I'm going 85. Oh, the police is coming. Do you know
Mm.
how fast you were going? No, because I forgot to look at the speedometer. So your heart can act as that. Oh my God, I've been
Mm.
going at 120, not miles per hour, but 120 beats per second,
Mm.
right? Unbeknownst to myself, because I didn't do this practice, right?
Mhm.
So I'm not a perfected being by any means, but I practice over many years, and even just sitting here or just walking or talking with someone, and I talk about that 20%. I
Yep.
use the word interoception again. 20% internally perceiving, not just all lost in the external world, right? And so I'm able to monitor that, yeah, with my sort of inner vision or inner sensation. What's my blood pressure? What's my heart rate?
Mm.
And so it sounds maybe challenging, but it's possible. It's not just me. It's also people
Mhm.
I teach this and they practice it. So they're like, oh, I feel it now. It's quite subtle, right? And another angle on that is your breath, right?
Mhm.
Because the lungs embrace, and the two lung sacs embrace the heart in the center, right?
Mm.
So especially I think on the inhale, when you're expanding the lungs, you're actually squeezing the heart. So you might want to try this. Like when you inhale, just hold it for a little bit,
Mm.
right? And most people then, because the lung is pushing, squeezing the heart, you can feel it a little bit more strongly,
Mm.
right? And then exhale, and then it becomes a little bit more soft, right?
Mm.
Those lung sacs aren't as full. There's less pressure, and then just rest, and then go back in and it's like massaging the heart,
Mm.
the left and right side of it. It's really like I imagine. Oh, come here,
Like
and
an internal hug.
yeah, and
I
then
I love
yeah.
this practice, Paul. I love how we went from, first practice just going to the expanding your perception and seeing kind of more broadly instead of just really focusing in one at one point to just kind of relax
Mhm.
the view, and then as part of our allowing ourselves to bloom, and then literally you're talking about understanding how to pace ourselves by feeling our heartbeat,
Yeah.
and if we can also coordinating that with the breath as like an internal hug.
Internal.
And yeah, and so as we kind of close, this time, I invite you to just try as much as you can, just every day, like we said in the previous episodes, just that 14, 15-minute, 1% of your day.
14.4.
14.4, like 1% of your
Yeah.
day, just kind of like just checking in with your pulse.
That's about what we did,
Yeah,
14.
exactly.
That's it.
And I
practice
feel,
with your friends.
exactly, and I immediately feel more calm and relaxed.
Yeah.
And then, and I think the inquiry question is, how do you want to pace yourself? Literally, like check in with your heart to see, like, am I overdoing it? Because the heart will tell you, like, metaphorically and physically, if it's too much, or if you could actually put in a little bit more energy. And let us know, what are you noticing by just noticing your pace and dialing up and down, that pace and that energy exertion from doing this practice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so hopefully that information ignited some fire metaphors, right? Inspiration, right? Which also means breathing in. Right? And so this is our 4th or 5th episode. So I'm always happy and curious to hear if you guys have some comments or questions or suggestions. How are these going for you? What are you getting out of it? And so you can reach me at info@Dao Center, DAO, CENTR.com.
And where do we find you on Instagram? Because I feel like you're also very regular there. What's the handle?
It's Sifu. So that's the title I received from my lineage.
SIFU.
Yeah, not seafood, as my kids, my children's student call me, hey, seafood Paul. SIFU, and then Paul Wang with the A, Wang. Yeah, Seafood Paul Wang on Instagram, and from there you can connect to other ways. And Hestia,
HestiaMagic.com, HESTIA. You can find us on our website, and our Instagram handle is Mount Shasta Retreat Center, which you can link from our website as well. And Paul and I will be, doing as we mentioned, the Fall Equinox gathering on the land for a whole week to really go deeper in the practices of fall. And we also gather online and in community as well more regularly to help you kind of embody these practices from nature, this living in rhythm with nature. So yeah, let us know how these practices land for you, and we're happy to offer more helpful resources based on your feedback.
Even in person, right? If you're in the Bay Area, we've been doing every other month little gathering in person, right? That's always nice. And then also like these kind of retreats, like either the ones that I do here or in Hestia, like we'd be happy to meet in the flesh.
Yes, we always prefer the old school in person.
Yeah.
So take care, everybody, and happy summer solstice.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.